We generated 627 gigawatt hours in the period. Solar irradiation was about 13% ahead of forecast, which put our generation ahead by 7.6%. Real important part of that is making sure that, as I say, what we're doing is making sure that the assets are performing, that we're managing spare parts, that we're replacing important components like inverters.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Stephen Rosser. He is the Fund Investment Director at NextEnergy Solar Fund. And Stephen, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Steve. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so much stuff going on in the company. I got a lot to ask you about, so let's get right to it. First off, you've released your set of interim results. Let's start there. Are you happy with what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, a really strong set of results for the 6-month period. That's to the end of September. Portfolio outperformed during the period from a generation perspective. That generated an additional £2.5 million in cash, which is obviously good news. And we carry on our work to optimize the assets within the portfolio to really capture those opportunities to the upside.
Tell me a bit about this outperformance. That's obviously very positive.
Yeah, it is. We work really hard across the team and including the asset manager to make sure that we can deliver that. So obviously, first half of the year, so certainly spring, summer in the UK, very bright, very sunny. So that obviously helps, but have to work hard to make sure that the assets are available and performing and converting that into generation. So we generated 627 gigawatt hours in the period. Solar irradiation was about 13% ahead of forecast, which put our generation ahead by 7.6%. Real important part of that is making sure that, as I say, what we're doing is making sure that the assets are performing, that we're managing spare parts, that we're replacing important components like inverters, which, given the age of the assets and the life of the fund, are now coming up to that point in their life where they need replacing. And we do that in a really systematic, well thought out, really well planned way on a sort of rolling 5-year program. We've done 8 of those so far, with 2 more coming through in the period itself.
You've appointed Tony Quinlan to the board. He is now the chair as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about his background and why this is so significant for the company?
Yeah, that's right. Tony was appointed following an independent selection process run by the independent directors on the board. He brings very extensive leadership and governance experience to his new role. He's previously been CFO at Drax Group PLC, led the transformation of the group from coal to sustainable biomass, which means he brings a significant knowledge of UK electricity and the market and renewables. He was also CEO at Laird PLC as well, and is a non-exec director on a couple of other companies. So we're really excited to welcome Tony to NextEnergy Solar Fund and looking forward to working with him going forward.
Absolutely. Stephen, I just want to try and get a bit of an update on the strategic review that was announced earlier this year. Are you guys able to provide any updates at all?
Yeah, so the board, as you'll have picked up, announced a strategic review over the summer, and we've been working very closely in partnership with them through the bones of that strategic review. We, through that, have a very robust framework for assessment of different opportunities, all really laser focused on enhancing and capturing additional shareholder value. So with Tony on board now, I think you can expect to hear more from us on that in the new year.
Okay, we'll look forward to hearing that. The Rockfit consultation deadline was this week. Was there a response submitted?
Yes, NextEnergy Capital and NextEnergy Solar Fund have responded directly to that consultation. We are urging government not to change those legacy schemes, which is obviously very important for protecting investor confidence, also market certainty, and fundamentally consumer bills, because we see a very different set of impacts to what the government might be perhaps predicting. Those responses are available on the website. So we got a separate area there so you can read what we've submitted. They are just proposals at this point in time, and the government is consulting, so we don't know with any certainty whether anything will actually be implemented. but we have published some sensitivities to show how the different proposals would affect the business if they were brought through.
So obviously, Stephen, we're in December, so we're wrapping up 2025, heading into 2026. It sounds like as busy as 2025 is, 2026 sounds like it's going to be even more busy.
Yeah, 2026 is lining up to be a good year. Obviously, our focus for the fund is making sure that we're set up for long-term sustainable success and growth, both in NAV but also in shareholder returns. And obviously, that's a key focus of the strategic review that's ongoing. It's important that we maintain our disciplined approach to capital structure and to gearing, focused on that sort of structural repayment of long-term debt, but also repaying short-term debt through the proceeds of the capital recycling program, where we're into the fourth phase of that now, and that's progressing well. So again, looking forward to updating on that in due course.
It sounds like from what you're talking about is some of the things you would share for potential new investors of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, NESF's portfolio is really carefully curated and it remains really solid. It's diversified across the UK network and also internationally, and it's highly productive. And as we've seen through the outperformance over the first half of this year, it's performing very well. The UK itself is one of the most mature and competitive solar markets around the world. And as we know, solar is the cheapest form of renewable energy that we can deploy at both speed and scale. So huge opportunities there. More importantly, also sizable opportunities given the wider policy momentum around Clean Power 2030 and the ambitions to decarbonize the grid still further, for which NextEnergy Solar Fund can play an enormous part, leveraging not only its historic track record, but the track record of the investment manager at NextEnergy Capital, to really unlock that value for shareholders. And that's what we're, as I say, laser focused on with the independent board. So far we've paid or declared 419 million pounds in ordinary dividends to shareholders. So that's a really strong result since IPO, and we look forward to continuing that in the years ahead.
Well, exciting times ahead for sure, Stephen. Thank you so much. Good to get an update on where the company's at, and we look forward to our next conversation. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right. There's Stephen Rosser, a fund investment director at NextEnergy Solar Fund.